All right. So thank you so much for meeting today to talk about your son Omar. Um, we've gathered a little bit of data and sort of set up a plan to help Omar with his reading level. So here's kind of what we're thinking, and you can give us feedback on how you think this will work for him. So some of the things that we already know about Omar. Hopefully it's okay. I did an eighth grader because I'm a middle school specialist. So Omar is a level 2 English learner. His first language is Spanish. He's a kid with great attendance. He's a hard worker. All of his teachers just absolutely love having him in class. He's a kind, respectful kid. His current reading level is 207 on his most recent math test, and that's well below grade level for an eighth grader, um, where the average is, or where we proficiency, I guess I should say, is 223. Omar does want to go to college. He's very motivated and he wants to work hard. He wants to be the first person in his family to go to college. And his current GPA is a 3.0, but obviously we're concerned about that reading level, wanting to set him up for success in high school and beyond. So what can we do to support Omar? The first thing we need to do is just move away from a teaching focus. So it's not about the teacher's timeline and this unit's going to take 1 week and then we'll move on to the next unit. We really need to have a learning focus. So our expectation is that all kids are able to learn and reach grade level standards. That includes Omar. It just may take a little longer or the process may be a little bit different. But we do just need to focus on Omar's learning. We're going to use thoughtful interventions. We're going to progress monitor, and we're going to do whatever we can to help just by paying close attention to how Omar learns this year and what's working to move him in the right direction. So our overall teaching philosophy is we sort of ask these 4 questions. We ask, what do we want students to learn? How will we know if they've learned it? What will we do if students don't learn it? And what do we do if they already know it? We're going to be focusing for Omar today on sort of question 3. What do we do if students don't learn it? Of course, it's not that Omar isn't learning, it's just that currently his level of progress is a little bit below where we'd like it to be. So we want to do some things differently so we can support him in his reading. So we sort of sometimes think about students in tiers of what support they are given from a school. The tier 1 instruction, this is for every single student that we have. So this means all students, including Omar, they need to be taught with grade level content and standards. Of course, there's a few exceptions for kids who are um, just very advanced learners who may need some replacement content, but overall, we really want to make sure that this is accessible to all students. So when we're talking about supporting Omar, we're not talking about replacing his tier 1 instruction or his core content instruction. He will still be receiving that. And the reason why is, Omar wants to go to college. He deserves the chance to do challenging assignments. Now, kids, the research is really clear on this. Kids who have not had challenging assignments along the way then get to college or get to the next level and then they can really struggle. So we want to make sure we're giving him access to that rigorous curriculum. So we're going to provide Omar with this rigorous tier 1 instruction. It's going to be engaging. We're going to use scaffolds for language. As a former EL teacher myself, that's one of the biggest things, is not to remove the cognitive demands or the content, but to really change the language demands, because Omar is a very smart kid. His just level of English proficiency is not the same as a fluent English speaker yet. So we will be differentiating to meet Omar's interests and strengths. Our school uses the UDL CAST guidelines. So that means Omar might have an option of how he shows what he's learned. It means we'll provide support for vocabulary acquisition, which is really more what we're going to talk about today. But sort of that differentiation will be already included in Omar's tier 1 instruction. So in addition, something that we offer is that Omar's EL teacher is planning, and this is how our process is, plans all lessons with the English language arts teacher. The EL teacher is helping the content teacher learn strategies for incorporating vocabulary practice into the written and oral work of each lesson. So our goal as a district is for that EL teacher to really be a resource to help the ELA teacher build her capacity for instructing about vocabulary. And then as the year goes on and as the weeks go on, she'll sort of be learning how to put those pieces into her lessons every day. So what we would like to offer Omar at this point, though, is a tier 2 intervention, which is a targeted intervention. So instead of just the same great curriculum that everybody's having access to, we want to provide some things to Omar at his level in addition to that great core content. So Omar is reading well below grade level. His EL teacher and reading teacher have looked closely at Omar's reading data and I found a couple areas to focus. So Omar's vocabulary in English is one of his sticking points in his reading comprehension, as well as just his understanding of English syntax. So he's going to need a little bit of work in grammar and a little bit of work with vocabulary acquisition to really move his reading level forward. So he will receive that in addition to his content. What is the process for that? The EL and the reading teachers are going to continue planning with the core teachers to find ways to increase vocab and syntax instruction into core lessons. Omar will use the Lexia program, which we have district-wide. This is at his current level, so it is targeted. There's a pre-assessment when he begins the program, and then the Lexia program will provide him both vocabulary and instruction into grammar and syntax at his level. All students are going to be using the Lexia program 50 minutes a week, so it's not like Omar is going to be singled out or removed from class or be doing something that everybody else is not doing. The students will not be able to see what everybody else is working on. This is independent work, which will sort of, as he's learning this rigorous content, fill in some of his holes with his English language instruction. So he will also receive optional tutoring at this point from his EL teacher after school, and he will be assigned an iPad that has Google Translate, so we can rely on his first language to acquire new English vocabulary. We've had a lot of success with that. If we've got a pretty complex text, Omar can use his L1 to support his understanding of English, and that's a great way for him to acquire some new vocabulary. And then after 6 weeks, we're going to sort of check back to see Omar's progress and what his next steps might be. So that's for our tier 2 intervention. Again, it's the Lexia, the iPad. We're going to continue with that co-planning process and also the optional tutoring after school. If we do need to move to a tier 3 intervention, if we're really seeing that we're not making progress in Omar's reading, we might move to a tier 3, which is a little bit more intensive. It's sort of individual instruction. So we might have one-on-one mandatory tutoring sessions with EL teacher after school in addition to his content that he's receiving during the day. It could also look like very small sort of specialized group with his EL or English teacher to make sure he's making that progress. We do have an EL support class for newcomers. Omar is not a newcomer, but if we're really thinking that that would be something that would help him understand the structure of the English language, we can go that route if we're not seeing any progress from our tier 2 intervention. So our goal for Omar is for him to gain 5 points in his reading scores this year, and the average growth is 2 to 3, but we want Omar to sort of catch up to his peers by the time he leaves high school, so that we think that would be an appropriate goal for him. So this is sort of just what I covered, and I do have references here as well. Please let us know what questions you have. So we are going to start with Omar's process this week, and we'll hope that he makes progress. We'll touch back in 6 weeks. Thank you.